Hey, everybody, and welcome into the Better Buzz. Dave and Leigh back with you, breaking down the biggest news in the cannabis beverage industry and talking to the biggest brands in the business. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. And tell your friends, share the content if you will. Leigh, good to see you. Psyched to be joined by Theo Terris. He's the CEO of Uncle Arnie's, one of those brands absolutely blowing up over the last couple of years. Theo, great to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Doing well. Great to see you as well, Dave and Leigh. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
want to
Thanks for
start with
joining.
some I want to start with some breaking news in this industry, which has just been wild over the last, couple of years, really from the start. But now, Ohio, the state of Ohio has banned THC, all hemp sales for 30 days. Governor Mike DeWine issuing an executive order just yesterday. And Theo, what's interesting about it, and I'm curious to get your thoughts, he held up some packaging that was some gummies sold at convenience stores that look like candy, that look like Nerds, that look like Skittles. And that seems to be one of the biggest problems for legitimate players like yourself who have no intention of selling anything for kids. How concerned are you about this and the Ohio development?
Yeah, I think this has been a recurring theme. The governors or politicians holding up 1,000 or 500 milligram bags of gummies, something that looks super appealing to children. It's unfortunate, and it's good that they're starting to weed some of that out. And we're all about sensible regulations, especially around beverage. So I think it's actually a 60 or a 90-day all out hemp ban. We're going to be advocating for a carve out for beverage. We actually got connected earlier today to a lobbyist in Cleveland, with a number of other brands as well. But yeah, I think there needs to be our take is that there needs to be regulations in place both on the federal level and on the state level. Um, that comes from a milligram cap on every beverage, proper compliance and regulations in place. Just advocating for sensible regulations, and hopefully throughout the next 60 to 90 days, the state comes up with that. But time will tell.
I think that's such a big key is just that it's all about regulation, not prohibition. And, this is just a long string of another state, just not seeing the logic through all of that. But I guess, just kind of on the heels of that, if we watch this playing out at, state by state, what is your opinion of kind of what's happening at the federal level right now? Because, for those people that don't know, that just have discovered the Uncle Arnie's brand, you guys are in both the legal regulated marijuana market as well as the hemp market. So you've got skin in both games. What do you think about all of this that's going on at the federal level?
Yeah, I mean, as you pointed out, we've been operating both on the recreational side as well as on the hemp side. We've been around for almost 6 years at this point. I stopped playing the whole guessing game about what's going to happen on the federal level too many years ago at this point. My thinking and my belief is that the train has already left the station. It's not a matter of if cannabis is going to become legal. It's a matter of when it's going to be legal. What is Trump going to do? What is the administration going to do between now and the midterm elections? I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty optimistic, just given Trump's post about a week ago that was pretty pro hemp and pro cannabis for that matter as well. But yeah, I can't put my life on the fact that something will happen between now and the midterm elections. But I do think specific to hemp and specific to hemp beverage, as long as there's sensible regulations, we're seeing what's happening in every state that is regulating hemp beverages, whether that's Connecticut or Minnesota or other states where, consumers are happy, distributors are happy, retailers are happy, the state is making a whole lot of money from it. So I'm pretty optimistic in the long run for sure.
I want to ask you about rescheduling in a minute, but revisiting this Ohio situation, in several of these states, Theo, they're not required that there's a 21 and up age requirement for these purchases. I mean, that seems like a problem even for people like you. Why is that, and how do we get something done? Like, why should anyone 18 years old be able to get their hands on intoxicating hemp beverage?
They shouldn't be. They certainly shouldn't be. And that's why I think as long as there's sensible regulations, 21 plus, everything through the three-tier system, similar to BevAlc, I think that's the model that we've gone down in every single state. And I think that in the long run, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, that's how it should be, and it will be.
And the one thing I would bet on is rescheduling. I think that is very, very likely. If I were a betting man, I would put all my money on rescheduling, which should happen. It seems like President Trump is very supportive. How would that impact either side of your business, whether it be traditional marijuana or the hemp side?
Yeah, I think it'll impact the overall cannabis hemp markets in a really positive way. I think that's something that both Republicans and Democrats at this point can unite on. The fact that cannabis today is still a Schedule One drug is just mind-boggling. How can you have cannabis be legal or medically legal in 40 plus states at this point and have all these medical benefits, but yet be a Schedule One drug? Makes little to no sense. I think to your point, if I were a betting man, I would also bet that probably rescheduling will happen at some point over the next year or two. Institutional money will pour in to the category as a whole. Most likely, companies will be able to list on the US stock exchange. More institutional money will be coming in. Maybe stuff with interstate commerce, both on the recreational side, will have a huge impact on our business that we are still operating, as I mentioned before, on the rec side as well, where we're still selling in 6 states at the moment. So being able to produce, in California, for instance, and ship that to Nevada or ship that to Arizona, that states that are currently bordering each other, that we still have to produce in every single state. So I think on a national level, it's going to have a major impact on from an institutional investment.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I forget about the interstate piece of, you having essentially to manufacture and control everything in each of those 6 states.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Nightmare.
Yeah. So you guys really are OG when it comes to cannabis beverages. You've been doing it so long and you got your start in the dispensary markets. How is hemp playing into kind of your business at this point when it came online in terms of your share of, marijuana-based versus hemp-based product? Like, how has that evolved for you?
Yeah, it's evolved quite quickly over the last 2 years, I would say. So for us, to your point, the first 4 years after inception for us, we're focused solely on the recreational side. The first 3.5 years of that was solely in California. As you guys are well aware, it's the largest market. It's the most competitive market. And in our opinion, it's where brands are born. So we wanted to put all of our time, money, and energy into California before even looking to any other state. When it came to hemp, we were also kind of turning a blind eye back in 2022 when a bunch of companies and brands dove into Minnesota before there was a real framework in that state. And we had a good thing going on the recreational side, and we didn't want to lose sight of that. But a year in, I think it was the middle of 2023, Minnesota went from a medical market to a rec market. And at the same time, everything was fully regulated, a 10 milligram cap, proper testing and compliance. Retailers needed a hemp license to actually sell the product. All the largest distributors, whether that was the Johnson Brothers, the AB Network, all kind of dove into the space. And at that point in time, we were like, oh my God, this is here to stay. Our thinking back then was to really kind of take our time, do the right homework. We wanted to enter into the mecca of hemp, which we did in the beginning of 2024 when we entered into Minnesota. We partnered with the AB Network on the distribution side. We partnered with Surly on the manufacturing side. So what we consider the kind of best in class partners. And we wanted to prove ourselves in the most competitive market, just as we had done on the recreational side. So when it came to hemp, it was only 3 markets that we entered in 2024, and we were laser focused on that market, on those 3 markets. And then 2025 has been more about us kind of hitting the gas pedal, entering a bunch more markets. And if we're talking just kind of revenue wise, where the business is at, to answer your question, the hemp side of the business has already surpassed the recreational side of the business.
Wow.
However, the rec side is also growing pretty tremendously because there's a lot less competition. We've gained more market share. I think some of the low dose consumers that are buying in hemp markets are also finding themselves in dispensaries, not just buying higher dose beverages, but buying edibles, buying, flower, vapes, other forms of cannabis as well. So it's benefited us, I think, on both sides, on the hemp side and the rec side.
Wow, that's fascinating. So cool.
Theo, can you tell me what type of growth rate you're seeing in the hemp side of things, and what is moving the fastest for you? We just talked to John Halper at Top 10 that said the Uncle Arie shots are flying off the shelves. So where is the biggest growth, and overall, what type of growth are you seeing?
Overall, we're seeing about 300% growth. We expect to double. It's growing. I mean, the business as a whole has grown more than 100% year over year for the last 5 years since inception. We're expecting to more than double our 2025 revenue in 2026. In terms of the products themselves, it's not the shots and are doing amazing, and Top 10 and John Halper, they've been fantastic partners and advocates for the entire category as a whole. Still, that being said, the shots are not more than 20 or 25% of our business at the moment. The cans are doing exceptionally well. We've entered most of the markets with our 10 milligram cans. That's been kind of our sweet spot, and I think that's the sweet spot for most of the Minnesota market and a bunch of the kind of core markets at the moment.
That's great. So if I can, I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit in terms of, like, we've talked about you're in the recreational market and the hemp market, and a lot of people are discovering Uncle Arnie's for the first time. And I feel like I can ask this question on behalf of all of your customers, but who is Uncle Arnie, and where did he come from, and can answer this question for drinkers out there?
Yeah, so Uncle Arnie is not a real person. He's an amalgamation of many different characters. We like to say that everyone has their fun uncle, their Uncle Arnie in their life. He brings the party, he brings the fun. We wanted to build the company around a specific character, which most other companies aren't doing. We wanted to build the company around accessibility, around affordability, around being fun, leaning into cannabis as well. So you can see, usually I've got the tie-dye behind me like I had on the Google Meet a couple minutes ago, but when you see the actual packaging itself, it screams cannabis at you, it screams fun at you. So that's what we've been building the whole company around.
I love it.
Do you think lower dose, look, Connecticut has a cap, as you know, of 3 milligrams. And I know all the volume, all the velocity is on that 10 milligram side. I've always thought Connecticut actually has the right idea in terms of, one, introducing the consumer one step at a time to beverage. But I also think in terms of your perspective, selling more cans, moving more volume, wouldn't it be better if there was a lower cap on beverages?
Yes and no. So what I think is, I think to your point, there needs to be a cap. My belief is that cap should be about 10 milligrams per container. I think for newer consumers, people that haven't tried cannabis before, haven't tried cannabis beverage before, I would highly advocate to try a 2.5 or 3 milligram drink the first couple times. If you're not feeling anything after one drink, wait 20 to 40 minutes, have another one. If you feel something, then kind of keep it there. But Fact of the matter is, people also build tolerances, at different levels. I know, Dave, I've heard you say in podcasts and audios before that I think you're still a 2.5 milligram guy, but I know a bunch of other
Yeah.
people that are consuming quite frequently, a couple times a week, that have built up a tolerance. I'm not saying they're drinking 100 milligrams, or more a day, but drinking 5, drinking 10, drinking 15 or 20. So I think that there needs to be milligram caps for sure. For me, it would be at that 10 milligram cap, because I think we don't want to rule out people that do have a higher tolerance where, maybe someone drinks 15 milligrams or 20 milligrams and they barely get buzzed. So it's not also fair for those consumers to have to drink, in the case of Connecticut, I think the ratio is for every 12 ounces, it's 3 milligrams. So that's the max cap. So for someone to have to drink 60 ounces to get a little bit buzzed also, that doesn't make so much sense, but
No,
that's
I
my
know.
take.
I guess what never made sense to me is like beer is all pretty much. I mean, there are some stronger beers, but there are 50 milligram, 100 milligram cans and bottles out there. It's not as if you can drink one beer that would ever get you hammered. So it seems like very different standards. And I guess to your point earlier, following the alcohol 3-tier system and following alcohol seems to be the right playbook.
Yep, I agree. And I think oftentimes hemp beverages, cannabis beverages are being compared to beer, being compared to alcohol. We're seeing a lot, and we don't have that 750 milliliter spirit at the moment, but Pamos does, Nowadays does, Can does, a bunch of other companies do as well. And again, I don't think that the purpose of that 750 is to just go and chug it. It's to mix it, it's to make a mocktail, it's to make a cocktail. Again, I think if there's sensible regulations, that's what we're advocating for, not necessarily
Mhm.
a cap. And I think the comparison to beer isn't always the only kind of analogy or comparison to make.
Out of curiosity, because I live in Texas, which obviously does not have legal marijuana, in the recreational sense, how high do your milligram caps go, or how high do your milligrams go in the dispensary markets for Uncle
So on the
Arie's
dispensary
products?
market, yeah, our highest beverage is 100 milligrams. Those are 100 milligrams either in a 2-ounce shot or
Wow.
8-ounce beverage. That's what's selling. 90+% of our sales on the dispensary side is coming from more potent products. And then it's the opposite on the hemp side, where the max that we have is 30 milligrams in states like Tennessee that have a 30 milligram cap. But by and large, our sweet spot is what I said before. It's that 10 milligram drink.
Oh, wow. So even in Tennessee, where the cap is 30, the consumers are kind of self-regulating and sticking to that 10 milligrams.
No, they're going to the
Oh,
30s. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. Okay, I misunderstood. Okay, so if
I,
the higher milligrams are available, the customer will go up.
I think for now, because I think what we're seeing in a lot of these states that are just coming online, maybe they didn't have a medical market, maybe there was no rec market. The people that are first consuming beverages aren't necessarily that newer consumer. They're actually consumers that have tried edibles before, they've smoked before, and those are
yeah.
the ones that are looking for something a little bit more potent. And they're also the guys that are going back to the wine and liquor store, bar, restaurant, wherever they're accessing those drinks, and they're more regular consumers per se. I think I listened to that in John Halper's just before this coming on. I listened for a couple of minutes to John Halper speak, and I think it is about getting that other 70 or
Mm-hmm.
80% consumers that haven't gone into the wine or liquor store. So I do think with time, that sweet spot, maybe it's not the 2.5 or 3 that Dave is having, and it's fine. Maybe it ends up being like a 5 milligram beverage that ends up being the sweet spot with time.
I don't profess to know all, but I will tell you, I've always thought that the mass market adoption will be in that 2.5 to 3 number, because no one I know, and I mean no one I know, can even handle a 5. And I'm talking about the dudes that I know that do smoke. I think we're just not reaching the bigger size, the bigger slice of the pie. But that's just me. I understand there
Yeah,
are definitely two different sides to cannabis consumption. I am curious. You mentioned earlier being traded publicly. How long before you think Diageo, AB InBev, Miller Coors, Constellation get in this game? I'm astonished they're still not.
I think we're going to see some movement within the next 12 months. I think some of the bigger names are going to come in. And when they come in, it's going to be the domino effect, and not just on the brand side, but also on the distribution side as well.
Well, and I think when those bigger, I mean, just in kind of the scope of the whole conversation, when those big brands come in, then they will have access to a consumer that we haven't previously had access to. And so that iceberg starts to get exposed, and we bring in that 80% ideally. And then, we'll see if the dosages go down or what the states do. But, then we really start to blow the lid off of it, and this thing, just grows immensely.
Oh, yeah. I think the next 12 to 24 months are going to be extremely telling and very, very exciting. But we're going to see a lot of movement from some of these, massive, massive companies.
Yeah, very exciting.
Theo, we're looking forward to getting a package in the mail, but do you have any product around you? I want you to introduce your product to some of our viewers that aren't familiar with it. Like, can you tell me about the flavors? Can you tell me about the sizes and the milligrams?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a lot of imagery around me right now for people to see what the brand looks like a little bit. So there's Uncle Arnie flying around. Here's Uncle Arnie mixing up some cocktails over here. There's a new office over here, so I don't have any products.
That's okay.
On me, but
tell us about the flavors and the sizes and the milligrams.
Yep. So for the first almost 5 years of the business, all of our drinks were non-carbonated, very fruity flavors, a lot of teas, a lot of lemonades. That was the angle that we were going after. When we entered the rec market back in 2020, we were trying to understand, why is cannabis beverage 0.1% of the overall market, and what can we do to change it? And at that point, we started going to dispensaries. That was the only outlet that we could sell beverages at the time. Obviously, that's changed over the last couple of years, and we kept hearing really the same thing over and over, that the beverages that consumers had tried before really didn't taste good. They were overpriced. And there was no brand that really appealed with consumers. So we tried to, as we always do as a business, kind of dumb things down a little bit. And we came out with what we think are the best tasting beverages on the market, very familiar flavors. So when you try our drinks, you know exactly what you're going to get. It's going to be consistent, and they're going to taste really good. In terms of some of the top flavors that we have at the moment, our core flavors are iced tea lemonade. That was kind of our original SKU, our half and half. The strawberry lemonade that we just introduced over the last 6 or so months has really taken off. The raspberry lemonade as well. The cherry limeade. All the ones that I've just mentioned are in 12-ounce standard cans and sleek cans in some instances, like in Connecticut where you are, Dave. We also have shots. The shots are 2-ounce shots right now. All of them that we have on the hemp side are 10 milligrams at the moment. Those are a combination of different flavors and a combination of different functionalities as well. So we've got our Sunrise Orange that has energy, that has caffeine in it. We have a blueberry nightcap with CBN in it as well, helps calm people down. And then some more general flavors like our Magic Mango and our Strawberry Kiwi. All the flavors sell. There's not like a huge range in terms of like the SKU that's selling by far the most and the SKU that's selling the least. It's a pretty wide range. And then more recently, just over the last year or so, this was on the rec side to begin with, we introduced our soda line. So our strawberry soda, our orange soda, and our grape soda. And we're actually going to be launching those on the hemp side in about 2 weeks as well. Those are in production right now. So you guys are amongst the first to know.
Yay, that's great. I'm glad that you broke the news here. Thank you for that. And I have to say that Magic mango really got my attention. Like, everything else I know tastes wonderful, but that one in particular, the alliteration makes me smile. Yeah, congratulations on what you've built, because I can tell you, as somebody that has sold in the market and was out working with retailers, and firsthand, being in the field, they spoke so highly. Everybody's always spoken so highly of Uncle Arnie's, and the full
Thank you.
flavored, the approach. You really did a great job from the get-go, and I think didn't require many pivots at all, because you knew the packaging, the shots, and the flavor. And it's, obviously the success speaks for what you've built, and you've done a
Thank
wonderful
you.
job.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, at least when we came from the rec market into the hemp market, we had been selling again for 4 years before on the rec side before entering into hemp. So we had a pretty good sense in terms of the SKUs that we wanted to launch, the marketing material that accompanied it, the sales force that we wanted to hire. So it wasn't, although selling in a dispensary is vastly different than selling in a wine or liquor store, there's actually quite a lot of overlap. So for us, it was, I wouldn't say it was plug and play. It's been every state is a different battle and different obstacle, but it's been quite the journey.
Well, thank you for being here. The website is unclearnies.com. Theo Terris is the CEO of Uncle Arnie's. I'm going to try one of these 30 mg drinks and just see what happens. Maybe we should do a show and record it.
Make a show.
And just see how that unfolds.
I think we sent you some 2.5, so I'll make sure that we get the 30s in the mail to you, Dave.
Thank you, brother. Really appreciate you joining us on Better Buzz. Hope to see you in person. Where are you, by the way, right now?
I am currently in Athens, Greece, and I was telling Leigh before jumping on, I'm going to be in 12 states over the next 2 weeks. So if any of you guys are in California, Nevada, Ohio, which is now a little bit of an obstacle, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Tennessee, New York, Connecticut, or New Jersey over the next couple of weeks.
Wow. I'm impressed you remembered all those spots.
I will meet you in either Connecticut, New York, or New Jersey. I'm frequently between all three, so you let me know. I'd love to catch up with you, brother.
Definitely.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Appreciate the time.
channel. Tell your friends. Thanks, guys.